so that we have a credible process. Because ultimately what we need is to have a credible electoral process that will return the president who has the mandate of the artists in this country. That's exactly what we want. The ultimate goal is to have a credible process that will return the president who enjoys the mandate of the people. Considering what has happened so far and the issues I've raised, because I've just summarized these issues, it will appear we may not have that particular goal achieved. And that will be setting this in a very, very wrong course. So in a nutshell, we are here to have that intercourse, or rather discourse, to have that particular matter resolved one way or the other.
Thank you for your inputs on the elections and your concerns that have been raised. Just to set the record straight, I think there was miscommunication. Let me bring you up to speed on what has happened so far. The communication that went out to our members and candidates was that we would kick off the election today at 9 a.m. And prior to kicking off the election, the procedure was that we would have members of the media, members of UMA, and some stakeholders as observers to witness that the election kicks off free and fair. And that implied that we would show the voting dashboard starting at 00, and we did that. We had them sign witness forms because we were able to demonstrate that each of the positions that were eligible had no votes. We were able to achieve that. The second point I want to raise is that on the issue whether we stopped or not, I think there's still much miscommunication on that. The correct position is that we plan to run this election to start from 9 to 5 p.m. And the communication we got from our technology support, that is NITA, was that the system was robust enough to handle all the votes simultaneously, the voting process simultaneously. However, we observed that around 11, about an hour into the elections, that the system was slowing down. And we did communicate because we got a lot of reports from the various members who are attempting to vote that they were unable. The correct information is that whereas some were completely unable, some of those who had failed earlier were still able to vote. And we did not stop, and for those who have been here, they can attest to that. We have announced consistently throughout the election that the elections have not stopped, they have slowed down. They have slowed down because we were experiencing congestion on the network. We were not aware that actually this congestion or this slowdown in the network was there prior to the elections. NITA, the entire government system, had slowed down. UMA, the UMA election system, is part of the government SMS system that carries the entire server that runs the SMS systems of government, including NIRA, Ministry of Health, and so many other agencies of government. So when the elections kicked off, it slowed down, and many members were unable to vote, whereas some were able to vote. So we took action immediately to try and correct what was happening. We had a backup system we had already built, but we had put it aside as a redundancy measure, and we activated it. It took a bit of time to activate it, but we did activate it, and we activated another option of web. We shared the links with the members. The members have been voting successfully, and there's a lot of evidence to that effect. So we did not stop, we slowed down. Whether these elections are free and fair, we have made best efforts to ensure that they are free and fair. And to do that, part of the plan and the program indicated that we will run these elections from morning 9 up to 5 p.m. We will have an hour to verify. We have invited random witnesses who will attest to the whole process, and we are happy to take any feedback. In fact, we have complaint procedure, which has already been outlined. We have a tent dedicated to that. We cannot say that everything has been very smooth. The unplanned slowdown was not intended. However, we are committed to ensure that this election is fair and fair. As you may be aware, when it comes to elections, candidates are not confirmed winners or losers until there are no petitions. And our process is that we will announce results at the end of the day. However, there is room for petitions, there is room for any complaints. We have two options: immediately and within 7 days. The proposal to postpone the elections, we do welcome it, but probably you're not aware of the background of why we decided on these elections. UMA, for your information, UMA is a young organization that is under-resourced, and the background to this is that at the beginning of this election, 3 months back, the policy board, which is the section of the organization that is responsible for sustainability, planned the elections, and the original budget was for a ballot election, physical ballot, and because UMA is countrywide, we were unable to raise the funds necessary to carry out that kind of election. And then we resorted to the second option, which was to plan an election where we would just line up. But still, even that kind of election required a lot of resources. We shared this with the members. And our third option was the digital election. And we resorted to that because we realized that was much cheaper. We tried to fundraise, and we were unable to acquire the resources. So we had two options: to carry out a digital election as our last resort, or to postpone these elections into the future until we are able to raise the funds. So we said if we can carry out a digital election, we got the partnership with the National Information Technology Authority, and they offered to build for us the voting system, which they did. We tested it for about a month. The members were able to try and demonstrate that they could vote. And today, we were able to erase all the trial votes, and we demonstrated that the system kicked off clean, and there were no votes in the system, and we were able to start on a clean slate. There are challenges, but like all new things, sometimes challenges are there. And in general, as a country, we have a lot of challenges. We appreciate all these suggestions, but these suggestions come with a lot of responsibility, and that requires most especially raising resources to make them happen. So as of now, as the head of the electoral committee of UMA, I have been tasked with the responsibility from the policy board to ensure that we run these elections with the resources available. And this is what is happening as of now. We have a lot of room to audit the election in case any of the members, the candidates are not satisfied. And we have a complaint procedure. We are very transparent. Because this is a digital election, there's aspects that are technical, and we are happy to take an audit team that would like to verify any of the data. And we promised that 2 months before. We have promised in every engagement that we will honor any efforts towards demonstrating free and fair election, and we still stand by that same commitment up to now. There are concerns, but we must move forward, and the position as of now is that the election is still time. The elections are slated to end at 5 p.m. We will take an hour to process the results. These results will be processed in partnership with the agents, the observers, and any witnesses who are here. That's our current position.
Well, thank you. Three fundamental issues here. Great concern. One, much as the electoral process is digital, I'm sure you must be happy at least hard copies of the voting materials say the vote has registered. Can we access it? That is one. That is one. And we have the picture of the vote has registered. Two, there must be at least, please.
Can we have silence, please?
there must be a voters list. Can we have a look at the same? At least that one to establish who is eligible and who is not. And the two, our client here, you know, he's a candidate. He has failed to download that app we were talking about. He has not cast his vote as a vote. And we know whether he's now going to be disenfranchised that he will participate in the electoral process because the system has totally failed. Three, the process of accreditation to get who is eligible and who is not. How is it being conducted here? How do you accredit the voters and say this one is eligible and this one is not? We want to also establish that. Finally, we have said the system slowed down. We would like to know the magnitude of that breakdown and how it has impacted the electoral process. Because if indeed there was that technical glitch and the electoral process is digital, essentially it means you couldn't proceed. It was also not, you're saying it was not foreseeable. NITA is a government agency, we accept that. And it was not foreseeable that a government agency would suffer such a setback. But if it has happened in law, here we call it an act of God, a prevailing factor, a force majeure. So how do you handle that in a situation? In a situation where the only platform you have to conduct an election has suffered that breakdown. That is the only platform, because you have no manual system. You only have a digital platform, and it has suffered that setback. Under those circumstances, if it has slowed down, under those circumstances, how do you proceed with that? And the final thing is, you said yes, you didn't have sponsors, you very much wanted to have a manual election, to have ballot boxes brought here, ballot papers, and everything is done in a transparent manner. You only opted for a digital system because of want of resources. At what stage was that decision taken of having a digital election? And how would the candidates know that now it's no longer viable for us to have a manual election? We are going in for a digital one, and that is ensuring that all the eligible voters participate in this process. Maybe first we deal with that set of questions.
Thank you very much. These are great questions. I wish you had engaged with us much earlier. You would have appreciated most of the information that you're asking about. Starting with the first one regarding the voter register. Because this is a digital election, we focused on publishing most of the content digitally. However, the first draft of the register was published and is available at our office. But because our members, the physical one, it's available at our office, and we published it through a press conference and informed all our members about its availability. However, from the time we published it to the time of the election, we moved into from phase of publishing it to another phase of corrections. What does that mean? It means that the register was compiled based on a member information that we had on our files. As in, UMA is an organization that has been around for a couple of years, and during those years we've been registering members. And these members were registered during that time. At the time when we published that register, we were not aware of the state of health of the register. So from that stage, when we published it, we began a second phase of corrections to that register. Some of these corrections included that some of the members, at the time they registered, they had old numbers and we asked them to give us their updated phone numbers, but their names remained. Some of these members had misspellings on their names, and we were fixing this, but the list of members remained the same. We also noticed that some of the members, whereas they had been registered at the time, they did not register contacts attached to their registration. Yes, go ahead.
This is Saha's agent, who was designated to oversee the process on his behalf, and she's been here since morning. How would she tell that so and so is a voter without having access to that physical voters register?
Thank you very much. Let me explain. Silence, please. Silence. So this register was published digitally, and all our members, we have their contacts, and we were sent SMSs with a link to this register. This is a permanent link that is available to all members and is accessible up to right now. You are free to go and download it and examine it. This register, all the members here can attest that they received the link to this register. And the same register, if any of them don't, listen members. Security, please remove anyone that's complicating the situation. Thank you. Now, the voter register, as published, is still available for auditing. It's the same results that we're going to use here are available for auditing. So the register is accessible digitally, and the links can be shared. Unfortunately, we are having this conversation. We should have this as a post-mortem, but we are in the middle of the election. But for purposes of putting your concerns to rest, let me quickly answer the other questions. Regarding access to the voting system. The voting system is supposed to run on the USSD platform, which is on *260 hash. That was the primary voting platform. And many members were able to use it to vote. Some were unable. So when we had experienced the slowdown, we immediately activated our backup system we had already built, which is a web-based system. And many of them have used it to vote right now in the last 1 hour or so. And it's still active. Voting is still happening until 5 p.m. as planned. Excuse me. Voting is still happening. Voting is still going on, and the members are still able to vote. The ones who are unable to access the system are using the *260 hash, are now using the web system, and they are successfully voting.
When power goes off like it has done,
yes,
then the system blackout.
The power goes off, we are using the internet. The servers are elsewhere. They are government servers and they are running. When power goes, people are still able to vote from their phones. The screen, I will explain. Yes. Let me give an example of a computer. When a computer, like a typical desktop computer, if you can turn off a monitor, but that doesn't mean you've turned off the computer. So the screens you're seeing here are displaying what is happening, but they are not for transparency. But they are not the voting engine. Thank you. Like you mentioned, there are situations in law which are referred to as force majeure. And when this happens, nobody has control over that. When power goes and it's beyond our control, the voting still continues and people can vote. Anyone who hasn't voted now can still vote. But so the system is still capturing the votes. It's the display that goes off, but the voting still runs. And even when the display went off, the voting continued. Members did not stop voting. All of that now power is back, and the system is still continues where it stopped. That's what I'm explaining. That listen, it's my turn to talk. Listen. I am explaining. I'm still explaining. I am still explaining. The voting is separate from the display of the voting. The engine that powers the voting does not shut down because it's not running here. It's running on internet servers. So it has not stopped from the time we started. However, the display, for purposes of the audience that is here, can be turned off. but the internet servers are still running. There's a difference. Now,
The question is, how do they monitor it?
How do we monitor?
that's why when power came back and the systems were back up and running, the update showed that all the votes that were made while the display was off were captured still, and they're still in the system.
How are we recovering that time when
Now,
the system was off? Because there was so
Nobody
many
stopped
hours.
voting because the display
But
here
you
stopped.
turned off the system.
We did not turn off the
You
systems.
turned it off. No one was
The
saying
servers
that
were still
was
running
11.
in the
No.
background.
No.
And all those votes were counted.
No.
In fact, for those who are here when this display was switched off, you can see the difference.
Let me get this, just a minute, before she comes in.
Yes.
Let me get this for record purposes.
Thank you.
At no one moment did you turn off the system because of that record.
Turned off completely.
No, we turned off the display, but the servers.
No, I
that-
mean the
that-
system
The server
completely
was
because
off.
what you're saying it has slowed it down.
The system has many parts to it. There's a part of the system that receives the votes. There's a part of the system that displays the votes. The part of the system that receives the votes did not stop at any one time. It continued. We just added another channel that was easier for web. Now the part of the system that displays the votes is the one that went off, was part of the one that was overwhelmed by the server congestion.
My last question before I let my colleagues come in here.
You asked another question about the decision and how it was taken.
Yes, but let me add on another one. How many voters do we have?
As of now, I need to check.
No, not those who have voted. How many do we have on the voters register? Those who are eligible.
Those who have voted.
No, not those who have voted. The total number of eligible voters.
It's any member right now who opens the link can know that
Just
information.
I want to get it from you as the presiding officer. How many voters do we have?
I can open the system and anyone can see. Okay.
Now, if I'm presiding over an exercise, I should be able to tell that I have a number of voters like this. You should be able to tell the exact number of the eligible voters. No, please, you can't do that. We are not my questions.
Let me answer the question. We will close this session in the next 5 minutes. I am taking these last questions and we close this session.
Let me get to know the number of
The total number of voters
Yes.
is 3,100. The total number of voters is 3,000. Can we have order? King Saha, please put yourself to order. Put yourself to order. Can we have some order here? Can we have order?